Guys, Melissa Middleton here from Rising Strong Counselling and Training Services. It's been so long since I've seen you, and I'm really happy to finally bring you some more content that might be able to help you guys along in life a little bit more. I love doing this stuff. I sometimes think that people don't always need to come into a counselling office to learn about themselves, so I'm really happy for you guys to share some of the stuff I know. A good idea never cares who it belongs to, so today is brought to you by Have It For Free, Use It For Free, and if you guys can do something with this concept I bring you today, then thumbs up to you. Now, in life we have a lot of blockers, and especially in the Rising Strong counselling room, I see lots of blockers. And one of the big things I see is people saying to me, you know, Mel, I wanted to come to you earlier, but I was really petrified of doing that. And you know what? I say to them all the time, that's really normal. It is normal. It's normal for us to have blockers in our lives. Now, there's lots of different things that people think when they approach different activities and different life things, whether it be driving down the road, whether it be shopping, whether it be doing our hair, that sort of thing. And everything we do in our day fits into 3 categories. And these are the categories that I want us to focus on today. So my first category is really big circle, is our comfort zone. So that's our comfort zone. Comfort zones are a really cool place because really in our comfort zone, everything we do that we feel comfortable doing fits in this zone. So that'd be things like, and just remember guys, comfort zones are different for everyone. So I'm just going to use the example of me today so you guys can get to know me a little bit more. So in my comfort zone are things like talking to people, talking at events, coaching people, talking about emotions. Some of my other comfort things are dogs. I love my dogs. I love my dog Lily and I love my dog Milo, and I have no problems cuddling them and walking them and feeding them and things like that. So and that could be very different for other people. Some of the other things I'm really comfortable doing is putting some lippy on. I love to have a glass of wine. That's in my comfort zone. I love talking to kids. Kids are amazing. I am really comfortable talking to kids. Other people are not so comfortable talking to kids. So things in our comfort zone just come easy to us. So I'm just going to name this zone comfort zone. Okay. So, and it's really important that you guys remember with every little circle that I do, you have to remember that what my zone is different to your zone. So what fits into my comfort zone might not fit into your comfort zone, and what fits into my stretch zone might not fit into your stretch zone, which brings me to the next zone being our stretch zone. So I'll just draw a circle. Looking really weird now, isn't it? But this is our stretch zone. Now, I love the stretch zone. The stretch zone is sometimes one of the most difficult places to be in because it's our learning zone. It's a place where we don't always feel comfortable. It's a place where we do a lot of self-reflection. It's a place where we really sometimes have to look within ourselves and say, is that real or is it not real? So I'm feeling like the whole world's going to come to an end right now, but is that really happening? No. So stretch zones are quite often associated with height. People say, oh my God, I'm petrified of height. I can stand at the top of it, but I really want to pee my pants while I'm doing it. Some people's stretch zone could be things like dogs. So I want to talk about physiologically what your body's doing when we're in our stretch zone. When we're in our stretch zone, our heart rate may heighten, so our heart might be going beat, 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 beat. We could be sweating. We could be crying, so quite emotional. Sometimes we might not say anything because it is really hard for us sometimes to know what to say. Other people might talk really quickly. when they're in their stretch zone. Some people might not look at you when they're in their stretch zone because it's too hard for them to look at you. So some things that might happen in the stretch zone, like I said, heights could be one of those things in a stretch zone, but what about something like needles? Some people don't like needles. Some people are okay to get needles, but they make them feel really uncomfortable. They might get anxious before they go to get a needle. Some people don't like going to the dentist. So that idea of the drill and the sound of the drill creates a space where their heart beats faster, they start to sweat, and they are quite resistant to going and getting in the car and driving there. But they'll still do it. They're still able to do it. It's just that it's immensely uncomfortable. So the stretch zone is quite often somewhere where we learn a lot about ourselves. It's a space where we can reflect on why we're feeling what we're feeling. And quite often in that stretch zone, we do so much growing. We find out a lot about ourselves. We find out about how to challenge ourselves. We find out how to challenge ourselves, but how to be successful in that challenge. Now, by putting ourselves in the stretch zone, it actually makes us grow. It actually means that if we do something enough times, it actually becomes a point where it is comfortable. So it means when we stretch ourselves to feel uncomfortable, it means that we're continually putting things in our comfort zone so we can then approach things that are harder in life. And when people often talk about self-growth and use those sorts of terms, we're actually talking about attacking things that sit in our stretch zone and just keep doing them until we become comfortable with them. So it's even like me talking on a video. If I would have done this 20 years ago, I think I would have freaked out. I think I would have actually panicked. Now let's talk about that next zone, which is the panic zone. Okay, so the panic zone is one of those places where we fight, we flight, which is run, or we freeze. And none of those things are particularly healthy. So we often find that we're in a traumatic situation. Our body does a shutdown thing where it causes our heart to just beat. When people are talking to us, we can't hear them. We could be sweating, we could be crying, but really we get to that stage where we're either fighting, we're freezing, or we're running. And as I said, panic zones are no space for us to learn about ourselves because we're in survival mode. So say, for instance, if I went into a forest and I saw a dingo, I think I would probably panic because I would be going into self-protection mode, and I think I would just shut down. Now I know when I go into a panic zone, I usually fight. So you know, everyone reacts differently when they're in that panic zone, but you never really know until you get there. So, and hopefully no one ever has to find out what it's like to be in a panic zone. But I have been in situations where I've been working with people on high ropes courses and they do freeze when they're halfway up a pole or they're at the top of a leap of faith and they're about to reach out and jump and hit the ball. They might freeze. Now, usually when you talk to those people up really high, they can't hear you because they're just actually in survival mode, and you really have to do a lot of work to actually bring them back down from that height because that height has caused them to panic. So some people get panicked for all sorts of different reasons, and I want to give you an insight into me. I'm actually terrified of moths. Moths make me run. Okay, I don't fight with moths, but I run from moths. And I know that's a really stupid thing to be scared of. And you guys might say, that's ridiculous. Moths are really cool. They're comfortable. I'm cool with them. But that's what I said at the start. My comfort zone, my panic zone, and my stretch zone will all look different to yours. And that's okay because we all grow up with different things, and certain things are comfortable for us because of what we're exposed to when we're younger. So if we have a family that are really loud and talk about emotions and don't care about crying with each other, all those sorts of things, they would be very easy things for someone who's grown up in that to deal with. But then you might have someone that's never dealt with emotions, crying, talking about the deep and meaningful stuff. And when they're put in that situation, they either feel extremely stretched or they panic because we're not usually exposed to those things. So it really just does depend on your history as a person. So if I'm exposed to things from a young age, then I'm not going to be worried about them. So for instance, if I think about the late Steve Irwin, he really didn't mind about dealing with snakes and crocodiles and going swimming with strange things, because that's what he was brought up with. His dad was a wildlife guru as well, which is really cool. But if you were to put me in Steve Irwin's position, there's no way I could even fathom. I would probably be in my panic zone. So you can see that we all differ, and that's okay because it keeps life interesting, and that's what makes us who we are. So the reason why I brought this up, guys, is because I want to talk about it, bringing it back to the zone of seeking help. And quite often when we're met with really intense emotion, we quite often either feel quite panicked, but more or less, most of us feel stretched. So when we're emotional about things, it can actually cause a blocker to receiving treatment or coming to talk to someone about your issues. And look, it's hard to challenge emotions. It's hard to say, oh my God, I feel really panicked right now and I can hardly breathe. But you've just got to calm down, plant your feet on the ground and just say to yourself, I am okay. There's nothing here that's going to hurt me. And right now it's just what I'm thinking about that's making me really emotional. And when you get to that stage, you're actually able to reason with yourself, which is really great. Now I'm giving you a very short version of perhaps some of the things that I might do and I might talk to you about in a session, but it's about getting yourself to a session when you're experiencing these things. So if you're really stretched about a situation in your life and you're not really sure what you want to do, a lot of people do think about counselling. And the things that stop them, the things that block them, is because they're not sure about what it is that is going to happen. So it's usually the fear of the unknown that makes us feel stretched or panicked. So it's about actually challenging that stretch and saying, you know what, I'm going to give it a go, because if I don't give it a go, I'll never know what it's like to do that. So I had a client of mine about 3 or 4 days ago that said, Mel, I wanted to call you, but I was just panicked, just stretched. I didn't know what to expect. And it took her 2 or 3 days to reason with herself before she was able to call me and booked in an appointment. And she said, well, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was. The more we expose ourselves to the things that make us feel uncomfortable, the more comfortable we begin to feel with them. So guys, my message to you today is comfort zones are great. They are really great because it means that we're in control of that particular time and space in our lives. But our stretch zone is alive with learnings and building us as people and characters emotionally, and it builds our resilience and our ability to handle things in our life. The last point I want to make is the panic zone is not a very good zone to be in. So if you're panicked by any situation in your life, you really need to retract yourself out of that situation and go and put yourself in a safe space, because panic zone is not good for anyone psychologically, emotionally, or anything. So guys, I hope this was a really good bit of information that you can take away with you today, whether it's helping you to make a phone call in and to come and see me, then great. But if it's just something to even help you when you're going in for an exam because you feel really stretched and you feel really uncomfortable, then great, use it. If it's helping you to go and take a driving lesson because you're feeling really scared and you're not really sure what to expect when you step into a car. But guys, if it helps you in any way whatsoever to be able to reason with yourself, then go, get good on it. Good on you for doing that. Guys, it was great to see you again. I hope this 12-minute video has been spent well with you, and I will see you next time. Bye.